important things to look out for are basically the transition of our mode of working, or kind of the way we interact socially with regards to decentralized organizations. I think that will be an interesting kind of shift as well. We haven't spoken about this much today, but I think that actually having a decentralized organization is something.
Brand new episode of Engatica's interview series. I'm your host Nimilika, and we are really glad to have you join us today. Today we have Filippo Chisari, Vice President of Marketing at Illumex.ai and a Web3 and blockchain influencer. Welcome to the show, Filippo.
Hi, thank you for having me.
The Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world. A platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Join us, be a part of our community, learn, share, and grow with us. Filippo, let's dive into our conversation.
Sure.
So let me start off by asking you, how did Web3 change the business landscape of different industries?
So I want to start by saying that perhaps one of the misconceptions that people have about Web3 is that it is, it's basically an evolution of the internet in a way, and I think that it is so much more than just an evolution of the internet. It is an evolution of the way in which we will conduct business. And it is not just about the technology. It's the technology that's allowing people to connect in a different way. At the basis of this kind of a new paradigm, I believe, is the idea of communities, right? Obviously, and the idea of utility, and all of the kind of technologies that are in the Web3 spectrum today, to me, are like tools to basically bring around utility for the communities. So I'll explain a bit more. So from some of the things that I've been observing in the Web2 space, actually, and not necessarily in Web3, is that people don't want to be sold to anymore, especially in the B2B space. People are shifting away from the paradigms of using outbound in marketing channels, and basically having these kind of conversations to understand if a product fits them or suits them. What people want to be able to do now is go to one place specifically and basically get all the information they can about a specific product. And that is a very different way of interacting in a business sense for brands. And that is specifically for tech products, but it's basically across the spectrum that buyers are more informed and they have moved on, and they're looking for a new level of engagement, let's say, with brands. And I think that Web3 is able to facilitate that. And as we shift from basically Web2 and Web3, this new level of engagement will happen in through ownership of assets like NFTs, in augmented and virtual reality. So basically the metaverse, which some say is here and some say is not here just yet. But basically, all of these are different ways to engage with communities, because audiences are no longer just people to be sold to. Going back to what I was saying before, audiences are basically now sets of people that want to be attached to a brand in a specific way, and one of the ways of doing that is basically through the community. So
now that you've spoken about community and networking, so the marketing strategies that we used in Web2, will they be applicable in Web3, or will they be like drastic changes in the way we market in Web3?
That is a good question. But my feeling is that even in Web2, things are changing. So starting from the fact that in Web2, the way in which the way in which marketing is being perceived is changing. Specifically in the tech space, I would say that companies are shifting from, like I said, going into these kind of outbound motions into more inbound motions, and building sort of a product-led kind of engine from the marketing side. And in a way, marketing is now sort of leading the whole revenue engine within specific companies. And at the end of the day, having basically sort of almost a self-serving product kind of means that there is a need for a community of engaged people. And so I would say that the biggest sort of investment that companies should do today in terms of marketing strategy is really to build a community, whether it's in Web2 and Web3. Obviously, building a community in Web3 is way more engaging. So this is the way to look at it, I think. The way to look at it is, it's not like Web2 and Web3 are two different kind of separate worlds. They kind of coexist together, where a Web2 company could potentially have a Web3 marketing strategy, meaning that if there is a tech product out there, basically there could be a Web3 community for the tech product that could be a separate, decentralized community, for example, that doesn't necessarily talk about the product, successful use of a product, or kind of like a help desk, but rather as a way to provide value to that audience, explaining how the product can solve the specific pain that the audience has, educating them about the pain, and that being done in an interactive way through like tokenship, or with virtual events that are kind of in the metaverse, or building some sort of a gamified experience for these people. And I think that it's not only tech products. I've been talking about tech products now because that's the focus of what we're doing now. But I think that many brands are doing that same thing, and I think that there's specifically for consumer brands, obviously it's slightly different because they're entering the Web3 space from a different angle. But I think they're also seeking to build a kind of next level of engagement or loyalty with their customers through Web3. Yeah.
So you've spoken about Web2 and Web3 being coexistent. Like there's a company in Web2 but having its marketing in Web3. So how long do you think they'll coexist together? Or how long will it take for us to eventually move to Web3 on a whole?
I don't, maybe it will never happen. Maybe it will take 10 years. I don't know. It depends on, I think that kind of goes into the idea of how wallets, or how the idea of blockchain and blockchain technology will integrate with our lives. Maybe in a distant future, or not so distant future, and everything will be kind of on chain, and it will be, we'll live in a different world altogether. But at this point, I feel that the perception of the true meaning of Web3 is that it should be taken as another kind of another level of engagement for companies, right? And like you said, I think I don't know. Let's take, for example, the Time magazine, right? I think I spoke about that in the podcast that I have a while back. The Time magazine, they basically have started this idea of shifting to Web3 a while back. They initially started by dropping their first sort of NFT, their first NFT issue, let's say, with Buterin, as on the front page. They then did a sort of a Web3 NFT project with Timbaland, and now they have decided, or they are announcing, that they will be shifting their subscription and their membership model to non-fungible tokens. So have they changed the way in which have they changed the way in which they go on about what they do? No, it's not all on Web3, but they have adopted a Web3 marketing sort of technology, and they have adopted a Web3 sort of mode of working to be innovative, for their audiences, and two, tab into audiences they have not tapped into before, and to also, in a way, keep up with the advancement. Yeah.
Okay, so they will coexist. The
Yes, of
transition will
course.
take time, or it might never happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
full-on
what do you
transition
think?
might never happen. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what do you think is the role of the government when the transition to Web3 happens, if it ever happens?
So I think the government will play a significant role. I'm not sure to what extent. So a while back, I said I wrote on LinkedIn, I think it was, that all memberships to me in 10 years will be NFTs. I still think that is the case. I'm not sure to what extent,
Mm.
like, I'm not sure to what extent the government will actually play a part in that. My feeling is that they will. Think about it this way: smart contracts can be used for so many things, including any kind of digital identity form of digital identity, right? So you're like medical health insurance could be could be a smart contract. I don't know, your CV could be anything, could be a smart contract. Your CV could be a smart contract. Your medical insurance could be a smart contract. Any kind of form of digital identity that you use either personally or professionally can be a smart contract. And basically, I feel that the government will have a part in this, especially with regards to the financial sector, because I feel that the government is now understanding slowly that that basically banks are or will potentially become redundant in the future due to
Mm.
decentralization. And so I feel that governments will eventually, I think, have their own cryptocurrency. I'm not sure when that will happen. That will be probably in a very distant future, but once they do, I think that will be a game changer as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So before we end our conversation, do you have any other sound bites to share with our audience?
No, I think that important things to look out for are basically the transition of our mode of working, or kind of the way we interact socially with regards to decentralized organizations. I think that will be an interesting kind of shift as well. We haven't
Mm.
spoken about this much today, but I think that actually having a decentralized organization is something very difficult to achieve, obviously. And I
Mm.
think that today in business specifically, companies are kind of threatened by the fact that there's this thing that's basically decentralization that's growing on the side. And
Yes.
I think the right way to look at it is to enable that kind of decentralization within the communities, as we spoke about this before. So for example, if a brand wants to build a decentralized community, I think I mentioned this, then they don't have to, for example, the voting power within the decentralized community doesn't necessarily have to be linked to some of the hard metrics or the targets of the company or the decision-making power of the company. They can be directly related to the tokenization and the engagement within the community itself. And so it's a different kind of conversation, I think, when you look at it from that point of view, and it kind of makes the whole discussion around decentralization a more inclusive one, and one that can be leveraged by companies as well, rather than being feared. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Thank you so much, Filipino. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation we had today.
thank you for
Oh,
having me. It was really interesting to discuss the questions that you mentioned.
thank you so much. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get access to exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you with a new expert soon.